Tay and Linda have kind of referenced the technology. Let's come back to that for a second. So it wasn't that long ago, what, maybe 2021, when New Jersey passed its recreational marijuana law. And initially there was that element of it that every employer would have to have a drug recognition expert of some sort in order to test for marijuana under certain circumstances. And then they realized how complicated and sort of convoluted that would be for every company that wants to test for marijuana to have a DRE on staff. It's impractical. So they sort of put that on hold for a little while. Maybe Tay, you can address that from a legal standpoint, but from a practical standpoint, Ken, doesn't the Gaize technology sort of bypass that sort of convoluted approach and make it easier for employers to do an impairment test without asking employees to be experts on impairment recognition?
Yeah, and I think that you nailed it. I mean, these tests are incredibly complicated and very difficult for even the most expert law enforcement officers to repeat consistently. And so, I mean, the training program that law enforcement goes through is very long. Not all officers even pass it, and it's a real responsibility to use physical indicators to try to understand whether or not someone is impaired. And frankly, I don't think that's a responsibility that most employers want to have one of their staff own, and that poor staff member is going to be completely vilified as the person to like avoid at all the company functions and avoid on the shop floor lest you be deemed impaired or something. And so, yeah, I think that ended up feeling like a pretty impractical solution. And so Gaize, I think, fulfills that same desire to determine whether or not someone is showing the signs of impairment, and does so in an objective way that is not, out there making some member of an organization a pariah. And that's just not as you said, a practical solution, or one that I think most companies would adopt, even if it became practical and training programs were stood up. And there's other laws like California's Assembly Bill 2188 that requires or really precludes employers from using traditional metabolite-based chemical drug tests to take adverse action against employees. Similarly, there you've got to prove impairment or use some test that can establish whether or not someone has used extremely recently. And so that's, those markets are really where I think the conversation is most poignant right now, and where it's most important for employers to be paying attention and trying to understand how they can comply with those laws and maintain a safe workforce.